and welcome to the Tourism Chat Show. I'm Michelle, your host, and this episode is another in our special TRENZ Unpacked series, designed to help exhibitors and buyers make the most of New Zealand's biggest international tourism trade event. So it's great to have you tuning in and listening to what we have to say today. Now, TRENZ, as we know, is not just about the scheduled appointments. It's about the connections that you make in between. The coffee queues, the networking events, the chance encounters at the farewell function. These are where some of the most valuable relationships are formed. But let's be honest, not everyone finds networking easy. For some, it can feel very overwhelming, awkward, or even a little bit scary. So that's why in today's episode, we're unpacking why networking is such a powerful tool in tourism, some of the biggest barriers that people face and how to overcome them, how to make a lasting impression, even if you are an introvert, and the best networking opportunities at TRENZ 2025 that you do not want to miss. Plus, we've got some practical follow-up strategies to turn those conversations into real business opportunities for you. And to help us navigate all of this, I'm joined by the brilliant Baddiley from RotoruaNZ. Lou is an expert in trade relationships, and since TRENZ 2025 is happening right in her backyard, she has some fantastic insights on how to maximize those unstructured moments, from spontaneous chats to strategic introductions. So whether you're a seasoned pro or first-time exhibitor, this episode will give you the confidence and strategies to network like a boss at TRENZ. Let's get into it. Ka kite. Kia ora, Lou, and welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. And obviously, TRENZ is just around the corner and we're coming to your neighbourhood this year, which is very exciting.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So what I wanted to talk to you today about is networking at TRENZ, and obviously just covering off some of the importance of the networking that happens outside of the structured appointments. So firstly, for those who don't know you, and I'm sure there's not many of our listeners, but can you just give us a bit of an update on what you do?
Sure. I am at RotoruaNZ, so the RTO here in Rotorua, the Regional Tourism Board, and I look after just trade, mainly for international markets, but specifically the Western markets and India.
Nice. Okay, so from your perspective, why is networking such a crucial part of the TRENZ event beyond the scheduled appointments?
Look, I think the magic of TRENZ isn't just the scheduled appointments, it's the conversations that happen in between. So it could just be you going to grab a coffee. It could be you introduce yourself or get introduced at a networking event. It could be that you've ended up on a famil with someone. So it's those moments, if you work it, that can lead to those really good relationships. And I think particularly in trade, and that is true for sales, but I think those, the trust, but the personal connections that really drives decision making. So yeah, just really important to use those what appear to be informal or chance encounters to really get to know someone, because you just never know when those opportunities are going to arise, right? Whether it's an inclusion on an itinerary or a fresh product idea. So I think those interactions can lead to finding out what people are looking for and therefore better enabling them to get what they're looking for their clients.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's really important, particularly from a supplier perspective, to understand that the buyers are here for this event because they're looking for New Zealand product. And that's going to go, as you say, way beyond just the scheduled appointments. They'll be looking for those encounters with other experiences and products that they don't meet through the appointment schedule to see what might work for them as well. So don't be shy. I know it's hard for some people. What tips do you have for those who might feel a little bit nervous about just approaching somebody cold turkey at the coffee bar?
Find someone who's not necessarily, at the coffee bar. Look, remember that sometimes, regardless whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, everyone can feel a little bit awkward sometimes. So put your big girl pants on. Everyone's there to connect. Or
Yeah.
your big undies, sorry. Actually, I think big girl pants should be celebrated regardless of gender. But look, strike up that conversation. People are here to connect.
Yeah.
People are here to connect. And equally, if you're at a networking function that maybe is a little bit more structured or not just that chance encounter, use people potentially like me or someone else who's more outgoing, because one of the things about extroverts is we're really good at initiating a conversation. So whereas typically you have a conversation that will be initiated or you prefer to be on the receiving end of it, extroverts can be quite good at getting that conversation started. And I think one of the things I'm good at, I think, is introducing people to other people.
Yep.
And use us to break the ice. But yeah, those I call them soft networking moments. They can be really gold, whether it's the conversation at the networking function, at a coffee, or even some sort of event. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to note that whilst you might feel a little bit nervous or out of your depth or whatever, if you don't know that many people, that nearly everyone else in the room will be feeling the same way at some point through the show. So there's no harm in actually just putting yourself out there and saying, hi, kia ora.
That's right.
Yeah. Awesome. So Lou, can you tell me some of the key networking opportunities that are available at TRENZ this year?
Sure. So on the end of the first day of full appointments, EC&I, which is the collection of 8 RTOs that have a collective in the middle of the North Island, we're hosting a networking function, basically. So you're going to be able to taste literally what's on offer from those regions. And so that's for all buyers and for all sellers. So absolutely come along to those. Look, it would be absolutely remiss of me not to mention the farewell to TRENZ party on the last night. Oh, yes. Sorry, it's a function, not a party. Rotorua is really well known for the farewell party on the last night. Everyone talks about the last time we hosted it and how that just went off like a pork chop in the sun. So that's going to be the same this year. So you want to make sure that if you're a travel seller, an operator here in New Zealand, you want to be getting a ticket to that party, just buy it. It's going to be worth it. Because you never know where that conversation will strike up. It could be on the dance floor. You just connect with someone. It could be on the luge. You're racing, someone from another side of the world. So one of our operators actually, Tuck and Two, and I'm sure we all know Tuck. Tuck's just like never discount the business opportunities that come from the dance floor. So for goodness sakes, wear some company sneakers.
Yes, that's so true. And it's funny because a lot of people have been messaging me saying, are you going to the farewell to TRENZ function? And I'm like, absolutely. Because
miss out.
I know, I didn't want the FOMO. And as you say, like some of those opportunities, and it's not even with just buyers and sellers, it's sometimes between sellers as well. You can strike up a conversation and who knows what business opportunities come out of working with other operators around the country or what you can learn from them and all of that stuff too.
Exactly. So like I ended up doing sales calls in Australia one year with Southern Discoveries, and I got talking to Kerry at an event and I didn't know him. I'd first heard him on your podcast actually.
Yeah.
And just that organic getting to know someone led to buddying up and doing sales calls, Rotorua and Southern Discoveries. At the end of the day, we're all in the business of selling New Zealand. So
yeah, exactly. It makes sense. So when you're looking at all of the markets that you play in, do you notice any different networking styles or relationship building approaches between these markets?
Absolutely. Good question. So I find for Western markets, particularly USA, Canada, UK and Europe, the networking's quite direct. It can often be quite goal focused. So decisions made will be with the business goal in mind or business potential and the ROI. So relationships are really important. But I think when I go to the States and Canada, it's like, okay, it's time, it's efficiency, let's go. Whereas India it's a lot different. It's a longer lead time. You've really got to work on that relationship. It's about trust building up over time. So formal meetings really are just the start of it. India is such a fascinating place to visit for sales calls and roadshows because there's often an exchange of gifts or there's a shared meal before or after. So it's really about, they're so good at finding those moments to build those personal connections. So for me, it's just slow down. It takes time. It might take 2 to 3 years to work with these people to get Rotorua for an extra night on the itinerary. You're in it for the long game. Those
Yeah.
would be the two key differences, I think.
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting because I think a lot of people do go to trends expecting instant success. And that's one thing that I always say to them is just set your expectations that trade is a long game and some markets are even longer than others. So, and it is about that consistency and showing up and being available and providing the right information over a very long period of time. So it's a good tip there. Are there any standout success stories where you've had a casual networking moment that's turned into a long-term business relationship?
Oh, it's got a really good one. We hosted a Tourism New Zealand famil here in Rotorua, and on the famil, everyone had either sold Rotorua as a travel agent or hadn't been here, and there were a couple of tour companies on there, and one of them was a lady from a major luxury American tour operator, and I knew that Rotorua wasn't included in any of their itineraries, and there wasn't really the appetite to change the itinerary because it's locked so far in advance. But we were at an evening function. We're actually at Te Puia, and I think she had a preconception of what Rotorua was. And so during just the natural course of that evening, I remember sitting up at the geyser in the geyser marquee, overlooking the geyser. Like, does it really get any better than that? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And we got talking, and she was like, this is just so incredible. And so, and I was like, yeah, it really is. And I just sort of talked quite naturally about how visitors, regardless of whether they're on general leisure or through deluxe, they really feel the connection to Mother Nature here. And what was really special about Te Puia was the deep connection that you get from people that are actually hosting you on their home environment. And I could see her perspective shifting. And so over the course of sort of that famil, I could see her warming up.
Yep.
It was about 8 or 9 months later, they reworked their itineraries to include Rotorua. We now have them for 3 nights, which is the longest stay equal to Queenstown on their itinerary.
Wow.
I've gone on to visit them in office. The first time I went in a few years ago, I trained 150 of their staff. They said, can we make this a standing event? You're brilliant. So I went back and took some friends from other RTOs a few years later. And actually last year, they asked me if I would do a webinar for their consumers, so B2C. Those that were kind of in the funnel that they were looking to convert to a trip to New Zealand. So I said, well, let's not just do it entirely on Rotorua, let's share the love. So I got DQ in, Destination Queenstown. And so we rocked up. 4,500 people, Michelle, tuned in for that webinar.
Wow.
Yeah. So look, but if I strip that all down, that just shows how meaningful what could appear to be a casual conversation or something where there's not going to be an ROI.
Yep.
And that was over a glass of wine in a marquee looking at a geyser with 15 other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Really good example. And I don't want to disappoint you, Lou, but our audience on this show is just a little bit smaller than that. So
listen, looking at water, you can have those moments. Sitting in a kayak.
Brilliant. So let's talk about building connections that last. We run around Trends and we're collecting business cards or we're connecting with people on Trends Connect to get their contact details. The real challenge, and we've heard from buyers on this show that only 50% of suppliers follow up with them post Trends, which was actually a really scary stat for me. But what strategies do you recommend for nurturing new relationships after the event?
First of all, follow up quickly. You've got to do it while the conversation's fresh. And if you leave it, you won't do it. So I have a preset sort of spiel that I use, but I tailor it to every single person that I've met with. I take a lot of photos at Trends. If I've taken a photo with someone, that helps me remember who they are. But I attach that photo so they remember who I am.
Yes.
Make it personal. You know, if they've mentioned that one of the things I do is in any meeting, if they're leaning in and they're really interested in a particular product I've got, for example, they don't know about Waireki Hot Springs and Spa, they're interested in it. When I send them my follow-up slide deck, along with the photo, I'll say, just reminding you of our conversation, you were really interested in Waireki. You're going to find that at slide 17 or whatever it is. And this is absolutely contracted with your inbound tour operator. So yeah, I think you've just got to add something personal in there. And just if you've said you're going to follow up on something, just follow up with them and then stay consistent. So we never used to, but for the last 2 years, we've been doing quarterly EDM. So there's loads of updates in there and it staggers me the open rate on those. But I think that's because there's been sales calls or people have been here on FAMs or I've met them at a B2B event. And so that's also part of the follow-up process.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
on that note, operators out there, keep your RTO up to date with what's on offer, because many of us will do EDMs and we are always looking for content.
Yeah, that's a really good shout out, actually, because we do promote working with RTOs quite a lot. And you guys are very active. Well, most RTOs are very active in the trade space and have regular newsletters going out. And of course, you're also in constant contact with Tourism New Zealand as well, feeding them new product and content for their newsletters. So, yeah, it just makes sense that we'd add you into our communication plan. Yeah.
Discovered yesterday, I'm going to an event next week in Auckland, meeting with 60 ITOs, and discovered yesterday one of my bigger operators has a new product. I was like, cool, I found it by accident. Guys, I'm a salesperson. I can help you. Well, I'm not your salesperson. I kind of think that we're an extension of the sales team. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I say, sometimes I struggle to find things to talk about.
I find that very hard to believe, but no, good new product is always good. And yes, the extension of your sales team is a really important one. Like at the end of the day, the more people who know about what you're doing, the better, right? And that's not just RTOs, it's also the fellow operators in your region, because I know when I go and do sales calls, and if I'm on my own, I'll quite often get asked about other experiences in Taupo or in Central North Island, or sometimes I get phone calls saying, "Do you know of anything in Queenstown?" So it's really important that we do all network together and kind of understand what each of us are doing.
And on that, Michelle, it's every RTO in New Zealand is required or encouraged to fill out a spreadsheet that goes to Tourism New Zealand. So it's basically a database, and we put in, it's called What's New New Zealand. So it's owned by TNZ. And so as RTOs, and I do this on behalf of Rotorua, anything new, we pop it in that spreadsheet. And that goes like that out to the offshore trade offices, goes to the digital team, the brand team, all of the TNZ teams. Like, how cool. And if they pick that up, that's free publicity.
I know.
Yeah.
You never know where it's going to go, do you?
Now, we don't know. We can't tell them.
And Lou, you're very big on social media. You are what we call, I think, a micro influencer. But what are your top tips for leveraging social media? Things like LinkedIn, Instagram. What are other channels that you're on that can help build relationships with our key partners offshore?
Yeah. LinkedIn, actually, for us, if we're not connected with a buyer that we want to meet at TRENZ, we'll send them a TRENZ connection request through the system, but I'll also send them a LinkedIn message. So LinkedIn, I'm not as good on LinkedIn as I should be. I'm probably more of a lurker. But I'll send emails, if we develop a cheat sheet, for example, about the differences between the geothermal environments here, I'll send it and go, I was just thinking about you. We talked at TRENZ and you were asking about the differences, whatever. Just find a reason to keep in touch. WhatsApp, I use WhatsApp a lot. So I have most of my sort of key clients in there. Just use the voice function. That's really lovely. It's a really quick, informal way to follow up. The Indian market especially love that. But you called me a micro influencer. I think that hopefully that wasn't in relation to my hobbit-like height. Instagram, that was never intended to be a tool to help promote New Zealand or Rotorua, but I guess it's turned into that. So I use my Instagram, and look, travel's it's so visual. So actually I went out with volcanic air a couple of days ago, and that video that I made, that I posted on my Insta, I sent it to a bunch of travel sellers that I know that have been on volcanic air. I sent it to Anscrow. I sent it over to the team at TNZ North America, and just went like, are you serious? And so from that, there's 4 Indian buyers that are reaching out to volcanic air to go, hey, can we come and do that while we're at TRENZ? So look, that just sparks, right? It's about sparking stuff. It's about sparking that natural organic dialogue. So I think the key takeaway from me is just use a mix of platforms and find what works for you. I find LinkedIn, I'm just not a super, I don't know, I always feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing because I'm quite cash on LinkedIn. Although when I post, people go, oh, I love how you write. And I'm like, oh, I get my knickers and such, and not about it has to be really perfect. But I think the key thing is just be authentic and be yourself and show your personality as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think sometimes you can very clearly see that people are using AI to help write their posts on LinkedIn, and then it doesn't come across as their authentic voice when you know them. So I think the fact that you say you're quite casual, well, that's who you are. That's your personal brand. And we talk a little bit about that. It's you show up in that authentic voice, and that's what people love. Do you think there's any differences? Obviously, with an RTO, you've got lots to talk about. You've got a huge amount of product and experiences to talk about. If you're thinking about an operator with just a single product, does it make any difference in terms of some of these strategies, do you think?
No, and I get really envious of operators because they can do a deep dive into their product.
Yeah.
So we just flit once over lightly, whereas they can actually sit and talk about how the health and safety works, how their guests are welcomed, how I'm going to pick Taiwo Adventures, which is a kayaking tour that we have here in Rotorua, the maximum number of people, the ratio of guides to clients, and the number of different glowworm caves they go into. They can deep dive, whereas I call us tourism Tinder, the RTOs. It's just once over lightly.
And
We
swipe.
have to, yeah, and we have to do that to do justice to our operators.
Yeah.
So the benefit in having one product to talk about is you can just go slow and you can really embed that knowledge. Your RTO is good at doing the intro, but yeah, I do get quite envious of the operators having that time.
Yeah, and I loved some of the info that you provided in there, because I think for new sellers particularly, they'll go and talk about, the beautiful views, or, how long they're on the lake for, all of those sorts of things. But the buyers actually want to know, what time do you leave? How long are you out there for? How many people can you take? What are your cancellation policies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And all of those sorts of things. So I think it's just thinking about your audience and who you're talking to and the sort of information that they're going to want and need to sell your product a lot easier.
Travel agents are quite practical. When, what, where, how. So it's kind of less waffle and less of the marketing-y stuff.
Yeah. And if we look ahead, how do you see networking at trade events like TRENZ evolving? Are you seeing any trends or innovations? Have you seen ways that it's done differently offshore that you're excited about?
Yeah, kudos to Tourism New Zealand, India, actually. We did last year for the first time at KiwiLink India some hybrid training. So obviously the KiwiLink was for travel owners or product managers, etc. But there was a space, we had an appointment where we went into a green room that they'd set up. And so they had a Facebook Live going all day at KiwiLink.
Wow.
So all of the agents that dialed in, and they had a phenomenal turnout on Facebook Live, got to meet all of us. And so I rocked up and just did my usual Rotorua presentation. And it was super fun because I'm surrounded by producers. And so I think using that kind of virtual and hybrid, I suppose it was really powerful. I think I'm definitely seeing an increase in digital business cards, which I really like, just from a sustainability perspective. What do we do with them really once we've recorded the information?
Exactly.
But I also think probably seeing use of AI-powered networking. So thinking about an event we've got in Australia later this year, we're going to be asking the buyers who they want to see. That just stresses me out thinking about that spreadsheet. But then I went, I think we could probably use ChatGPT to do that. So what that does is it cuts your time out later, means you can focus on delivering a more meaningful event. So that's what I see happening.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. For operators listening in who want to improve their networking game at TRENZ this year, what's one piece of advice that you'd give them right now?
Go on with a plan, but be really open to those organic conversations. So like I said, those structured appointments are really important, but the gold can happen over the in-between moments. So also work out, I might not have an appointment with this person, but this is someone I want to meet. Figure out how you're going to meet them. Talk to your RTO. Talk to you. Like, you'll bloody know everyone, right? So, and say to them, listen, I'm going in. I haven't got an appointment with this person. Can you do an introduction for me?
Yeah.
And help make that happen. So, yeah, have a goal, but stay flexible and approachable. But use your networks that you have already.
Yep. Really good advice, because we're not all going to get every single appointment that we've requested. We know that. And so don't be disappointed about it. Just make a plan to make it happen anyway.
I think one of the things I love about the tourism industry and I'm not sure if this is just Rotorua, but it could be everywhere. But I think we all generally get that it's New Zealand first, and then it's our region second, and then it's the product after that. And like you said, if I walk into a meeting and they have, and this has happened so many times, they have a question about Queenstown or Wellington or Christchurch. I've had to train on Kaikoura once. I got asked, can you include that? I was like, sure, no worries. So, just use your networks, but remember, we're all here actually for the same reason. People are really willing to help and share.
Yes. Yep. No, great advice. Look, I'm so excited about TRENZ coming to Rotorua this year again. What are you most excited about?
I think all of the people that I really, really like and enjoy being with, all in one place.
Yeah. And in your hometown.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not going to be happy at home though. Do you know what's happened?
Oh no, what?
Farewell to TRENZ last night. It's my husband's 50th birthday.
Bring him along and we'll have a party for him.
Luckily for me, he goes to bed at 8 o'clock most nights because he gets up and goes to work at 4. But that was all keys.
Yeah, that is a bit of a challenge, but I'm sure you'll sort it out. He can have, hey, for my 50th, I had a whole year of celebrations. So he's got plenty of time.
Okay. I'll take some inspo from that. Thank you.
Hey, look, well, thank you for joining me today. And look, some great tips there on networking. And hopefully that's given those who might be a little bit nervous a little bit more confidence in just putting themselves out there and connecting with their fellow regional sellers who are going in their RTOs a little bit more to help them along their way and give them that little bit of a nudge that they might do. And also loved your follow-up tips there as well, because that's one of the things that we need to improve is that 50% follow-up rate for
sure. 75 this year.
Yes, definitely. I think even 80. But yeah, thanks, Lou. We'll see you in Rotorua.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. Ka kite.
Ka kite.